Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and you can see the narrative shifting right before your eyes now. This is a tweet from Esoteric XRP. MSM's mainstream media's sudden change in narrative on Bitcoin from the best thing since sliced bread to its China's financial weapon seems like the UN World Economic Forum closer to implementing the Great Reset. And then we have this. I mean, you're seeing it now. It's like CNBC has all of a sudden decided they're going to actually ask questions to all the Bitcoin maxis when they come on. Listen to this. It's Anthony Pomp on CNBC.
Anthony, let me ask you about that, because if I'm a policymaker, there's a couple ways to go here. One is to say, and let's also recognize right now that a majority of the new Bitcoins that are being mined, that's being mined in China. Let's just stipulate that that's the case currently.
Because it is.
From a policy perspective, you could say, okay, we want to do a lot more mining in the United States for Bitcoin if we wanted to somehow.
By the way, notice how in front of Anthony Pompliano on the screen the entire time, or at least a good part of the time, is Peter Thiel on Bitcoin, Chinese financial weapon against the United States. I mean, I almost feel sorry for Anthony Pompliano here. It's almost like he's been used.
Transfer effectively in this competition or try to get ahead of it in that way. If you're a regulator, you could say, okay, we got to figure out a way to shut this thing down because we think of it in that way. Or actually, maybe we don't want to shut it down, but maybe we want to crowd it out by creating our own, either using a stable coin or some kind of digital US dollar, right? I mean, I think those are the three options on the table. Do you see them differently?
Yeah, look, I think that, again, the United States is taking a very unique perspective here. So the Digital Currency Group recently launched a new mining.
Hey, before he says anything else, while he's talking, here's the facts that you need to understand. The problem, one of the many problems, is that Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment. It's a fact. Everybody knows it. And that China controls all the mining. Okay, that's the problem. But he's trying to put wrapping paper around the problem and make it look like Bitcoin is the solution to the problem that proof of work is. And that's insanity. Listen to what he says.
Here in the United States, it's now a top 10 mining pool already. So we're trying to work to build the infrastructure very quickly. We've seen states like Kentucky go out and say, look, we're actually going to give tax incentives to bring miners here. We're seeing oil and gas with companies like Great American Mining who are saying, look, we're going to capture flare gas. We're going to turn it into this Bitcoin mining power. And so what I think you're seeing.
In other words, we know that proof of work doesn't work. We know the mining is bad, but we're gonna dress this thing up. We're gonna put paint on a turd, and we're gonna make it look like, hey, maybe we can solve this problem, and maybe it was a good thing after all.
It's almost
instead of using a digital asset that actually works and can scale and is cheap, that doesn't require mining and is not bad for the environment.
Kind of revolution when it comes to energy and Bitcoin mining in the United States. And so I think that we're going to continue to see that build out happen. Now, when it comes to policy and kind of the political realm, we have senators and congressmen that hold Bitcoin that are very pro-Bitcoin. And so what I think is likely to happen here is they're going to continue to push the pace of innovation and to embrace this stuff. Yes, there will be digital currencies. Every currency in the world is going to get digitized, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be kind of a winner take all in the sense that a digital dollar will be anti-Bitcoin or Bitcoin's success means that the dollar will fail either. And so I think what we've got to really understand here is that when you have an open decentralized protocol, which Bitcoin is, all of these digital fiat currencies are not, that open decentralized protocol is going to be adopted by countries around the world, and we need to take that leadership position. And I think that we've got a lot of politicians and regulators here in the United States that are working hard to make sure that that happens.
In other words, we've got a lot of politicians, regulators, and billionaires who are working hard to cover up all of the problems with Bitcoin because we have to make this a store of value because everybody's got their money invested in it now. That's what he's really saying. That's what they're really saying, is we got to figure out a way to make this Bitcoin thing work, even though the technology does not work. Okay, now, so then you had Perry Ann Boring, who is trying her best to go on and talk great about Bitcoin. But again, the problems are not going to disappear just because Bitcoin was the first through the door and they all decided they wanted to push it.
There's a lot of ways to try to value Bitcoin. A lot of it is pretty arcane, but I think the CEO of Coinbase pointed out the 4 other times when Bitcoin has gone on a run like this, and kind of implying that this time it may have gotten above a certain level where we may not see the highs and lows of previous years, where we saw 20,000 and then we saw 4,000. So what do you think the low on Bitcoin will be? And I don't just mean this year, but in general, how will it ever pull back below 35,000, below 30,000? When you say it's undervalued, what do you think it is valued? You a maximalist that think it should be $1 million a coin? I mean, where are you on the high and the low?
Metcalfe's law says that Bitcoin should be priced at $72,000 today. Metcalfe's law, that was formulated by one of our advisory board members, George Gilder, and it's a formula that many technology investors use today to value a network, and you just use user squared times the transaction value. That brings you to 72,000 today. Another model that we look at is stock to flow. Joe, I know you're very familiar with this. Stock to flow says Bitcoin should be priced at 100,000 to 288,000 this year. We have 12 years of data on stock to flow in Bitcoin, and if you measure it using US dollars, stock to flow is 94% correlated. And if you use gold, stock to flow is 99%.
Wonder what the stock to flow will say if they slap a carbon tax on Bitcoin and tax it all out the wazoo. All right, next.
Hey, Perry Ann, one question.
By the way, Perry Ann Boring is from the Chamber of Digital Commerce. That's why she's on CNBC.
The value of Coinbase that I'm curious about is currently they are virtually the only game in town in the United States.
Not really.
But if you are as bullish as I think you are on cryptocurrencies long term, you'd imagine that J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, we just had J.J. Kinahan on, the TD Ameritrades of the world. Everybody will allow trading of these currencies. So how will that impact, I would imagine, the value of Coinbase?
Well, it's absolutely going to impact the market cap of Bitcoin. And Coinbase isn't the only game in town. Kraken is quickly behind them, and they announced yesterday they plan to do a direct listing as well. In 2018, the St. Louis Fed released a report saying that Bitcoin will emerge as its own asset class. And what's happening this week is giving a lot of credibility to this asset class. Bitcoin's market cap today is...
Okay, I see Coinbase, as equity goes, about the same way as I see Bitcoin. It's the first through the door, and that's important from that perspective because it's going to bring the whole industry in. Just like Bitcoin was the first through the door. That doesn't make either one of them the best because they're not. I'll get into that in a second. Listen to this part. This is her final clip. She was on, they had 3 clips on CNBC with her.
Looking at the numbers, if you were to just look at growth and I guess just extend the growth that we saw in the last year into the future, maybe it makes sense. I guess that's the real question. But these numbers, Perry Ann, revenue year over year up 847%. So 1.8 billion first quarter revenue versus 190 million, and net income jumping to roughly $750 million from 32 million. And then you got just assets because of what happened with crypto and mostly Bitcoin, 223 billion versus 90 billion at the end of 2020. Does that justify a $100 billion market cap for Coinbase?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Coinbase is actually undervalued for 2 reasons. One, fast-growing companies deserve a higher multiple. And as you noted in their earnings call this week, we learned that in the first quarter of this year, they did $1.8 billion in revenue. They have a run rate of $7 billion, and they're expected to earn anywhere between $8 and $10 billion in revenue in 2021. So their valuation is 10x of that. For a fast-growing company that's growing at 400% year over year, they deserve a higher multiple. I think that multiple should be closer to 15x, which would really bring it more to 150 billion valuation. Fast-growing companies deserve higher multiples to revenue, but that's only the first reason. The second reason that I think Coinbase is undervalued is because Bitcoin is undervalued, and Coinbase's performance tracks very closely with Bitcoin's performance.
Okay, so let's look at who's undervalued, because Coinbase is just the one with this. What's undervalued is never the one with the big spotlight on it, folks. I want you to look at something. Coinbase verified users 56 million is what they say. Then I want you to look at this. Coinbase stock, they valued it at 100 billion. She's saying it's worth 150. But at 100 billion, it was, they said equity saw an average clear price of $373 per share based on that, okay? Well, guess who is about 1/11 the size of the user base of Coinbase? That would be Uphold. If you take 1/11, and I'm not saying that this is like some number that would be exact, it's not, but I'm just talking about in my own mind for my ballpark purposes. 373 divided by 11 comes to about 33. Look at what I just bought Uphold private equity on Link2 this morning. Link2 is one of my sponsors, but I'm also a customer of theirs. I just bought at $6.75, talking about what I think, in my opinion, is undervalued. Uphold sitting there. It's actually, in my opinion, a better platform than Coinbase. They're just not the first mover like Coinbase was. But they're a little behind, so they don't have as many customers. But the platform, in my opinion, is better than Coinbase. You can do more on it. You can actually buy Link2 private equity. You can link up your Uphold account, and if you're an accredited investor, and buy private equity with your digital assets that are on Uphold, which I've done, and it's awesome. So anyway, talk about what I think is undervalued. Now, let's move along and talk about the XRP price. XRP King Kong. Well, actually, first let's show you this. Sent me this. The corporation is bankrupt. I'm not going to play this video because it's got some music in it, and I don't want to get hit with copyright. But what this girl in this video says, she said that people that are getting their checks from the U.S. Treasury right now, a lot of the checks are signed by this woman, Vera Robinson. I have not gone and verified this. She says that Vera Robinson is the senior bankruptcy specialist at the U.S. Department of the Treasury, and that's who's signing your checks. Interesting if anybody can confirm that. Now, let's talk XRP price. Free American Spirit sent me this. First thing I wanted to show you from XRP Updates bot. You don't own me. XRP price surge defies SEC clampdown on crypto. Says since the start of April, the surge in XRP in the price of XRP has been backed by high tweet volumes, which approached relative highs. And then there was this from Bon Crip. Sent me this one from Peter Brandt, who's like a professional chart guy. I mean, I think from traditional Wall Street. In case you trade this, I don't. Coin is enjoying SEC ruling and the madness of crowds. Weekly chart H&S patterns are too often not to be believed, but sometimes they come true. This possible inverted head and shoulder with stunted RS would indicate prices a boatload higher, new all-time highs. And that's a guy that doesn't even like Ripple and XRP. And then there was this one from this guy, Dark Defender. And I show you this not because I mean, here's the caveat. I'm not saying I agree with this. I don't know chart. I don't do charts. But when I see a chart or somebody saying something that's charting these things that looks interesting to me, I always think it might be interesting to you, so I show you. This guy says, I've prepared you a long-term XRP chart, and the reason I want to show this because it goes in line with what somebody else is saying. Prepared you a long-term XRP chart, so this is for investors, not for day traders. I'll get my coffee, you grab yours. So he's calling for $100, that's 100 pounds, but $100 or so, okay? 125, all right? And then we got this one from Michael at VAL5 Links. Therefore, looking at the strong bullish momentum, many analysts predict the price may go as high as $5 shortly. However, other analysts like DIY Investing expect a 3-wave of rally that could pump the price close to $100. And again, these are these people's projections, not mine. I'm just reading them to you because I thought it was like, I thought it would send you into your weekend in a good mood. Like when I saw it, it made me feel pretty good. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that there are those out there that are calling for $100 XRP. Thanks for listening. Have